Hello, hello, and welcome back to The Outer Worlds with Splat. The Outer Worlds, the space RPG in which we're trying to figure out who we are, why we are, where we are, how we got here, where we're going, and how the heck we're gonna get there. So join us as we continue our adventure and get stuck right in. So where we last left it, I was trying to find the city of Edgewater because apparently my broken spaceship is in need of a power regulator, and the surly AI named Ada who runs my ship was insistent that I could find one if I looked hard enough amongst some kind of settlement. So here by the water, we are looking for Edgewater, and lo and behold, in front of us, I do believe we have found what I could only call a pimple on the buttock of nowhere. Welcome to the thriving metropolis of Edgewater. Ain't it purty?
Don't go ambling out in those hills. That's marauder territory, friend.
Yeah, so I've seen. Lots of killing and shooting.
Ain't safe out here. You'd best head into town. Avail yourself of Edgewater's high walls and low prices.
So, it doesn't look like much, but I guess it must be the only settlement in the area, and I have done a lot of running and shooting, so it would be nice to get in somewhere. But, trying to decide right now if I want to trust these people.
Pleased to make your acquaintanceship. I'd shake your hand, but I've been hauling corpses. Name's Silas. Junior in humor for the town of Edgewater. We're all part of the Spacer's Choice family.
Well, you know where I could get a power regulator or some way to buy one?
Got a knack for being discreet-like? There's money to be made, long as you keep your nose clean. Edgewater is a company town, board-owned and operated. That includes the cemetery. None of us own our... Renting means money. Money means paperwork. Paperwork means signatures. Some of our families become a mite delinquent and...
Alright, so it's a company town and they already want me to do their dirty work. Sure, I can break some legs.
4 workers still haven't paid up. Phyllis, Conrad, Ludwig, and Martin Abernathy. He's a special kid.
So it turns out that Edgewater is not unlike some of the coal towns that you would have found back in the United States in the 18 and early 1900s. Back when companies built entire towns of company property and then hired people to come work for them and live on their property. You would get paid, but you would start out with a bit of company debt. Like you would have your house you had to pay off, other things that would give you some of your clothes, uniforms, that kind of stuff. And as long as you worked for the company and paid off your debts, you were good to go. But surprise, surprise, these corporations weren't stupid, and they realized that if they forced you to shop in the corporation general store, eat at the corporation restaurants and diners and cantinas, use the corporation hotels, and all kinds of other services, they could have you rack up a tab of things that you could never afford to pay off. And so while, yes indeed, slavery in the United States was abolished in the 1860s, apparently indentured servitude was not. And this was made all the more famous by the old Tennessee Ernie Ford song, 16 Tons. So if you want to go listen to that instead of watching my video, I guess I can't feel too bad because Tennessee Ernie Ford is awesome and his music rocks.
I don't know you.
She's nice and friendly. Nobody in this town is suspicious at all.
Uh-huh. The unreliable, you say? Never heard of any... I don't know what you're about, but this here's a Spacer's Choice drinking establishment.
So I gotta figure out from this lady where I can get a power regulator, and she's running a little dump, but hey, never let it be said that I don't have golden charm.
You really think so? That's kind of you. I've been trying to keep the... Guess I misreckoned you. Sorry about that. I can get you a drink if you'd like. Gotta ask you to enjoy your beverage within the premises, though. Can't risk you bringing a drink over to those deserters.
The deserters? What's this about deserters? I like desserts.
Traitors. The lot of them. Bunch of folks decided they were tired of working and went out into the wilds to fit. Town's already struggling to make quotas, even without that band of slackwits abandoning their bunch of lazy, shiftless rung leeches. Anyway, enough about them. What can I do for you?
This town's got a problem with hippies. But enough of that. I need to find a power regulator. Where do I find a power regulator?
Do you now? And what makes you think Mr. Top? You want to talk to Mr. Thompson? Try ignoring your duties. He'll summon you up to that great big tower atop. It is a good thing. If you're not pulling your weight, you don't deserve to live here.
After a nice informative chat with dear Amelia at the bar, it turns out that a Mr. Thompson runs this place, and he's the guy that I gotta talk to find what it is I'm looking for. And you can find him at the top floor of the cannery, which is right here, Spacer's Choice. So let's go find out why everybody in this town is suspicious of strangers and on edge, and maybe we can learn a little bit about what these deserters are up to and why they're causing so much trouble. This is a long elevator. You know what they say about men with long elevators.
The grease monkey, Argo?
I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, sir. You asked why it's taking so long to fix. The answer's technical.
Don't apologize. Just try using small words for me.
The cans bust open in the oven because she's set to cook saltuna, which isn't what we've got. Mr. Thompson? I think there's someone here to see you.
Focus, Miss Holcomb. You and I are still talking. Let's start over. Walk me through the process. Show me where it's going awry.
Well, sure. It's, mostly on account of what we're feeding into the mechanism.
It puts food in cans. We have food, we have cans. Why won't it work like we need?
She's expecting saltuna of a certain size. We're filling the cans with, well, not fish.
That sounds gross. Canned whoopee?
Seems we've got a guest. Really now, Parvati, I do wish you'd spoken up. I do apologize. I was given no forewarning of your arrival, or I might have welcomed you at the gates myself.
All right, you the big dog?
I'm Reed Thompson, Outpost Administrator. I cannot help but notice you are not in uniform.
Don't work here. I would need a uniform. I don't even know who I am.
Of course not. I don't have that kind of luck. Seems I allowed my excitement to run away with my wits. Been a few seasons since we've had a visitor pass through.
Yeah, well, I've got things to do.
Only regulator we've got is hooked up to the town transformer. Mr. Thompson ain't liable to be keen on dismantling it.
I beg your pardon. I am most emphatically not keen on any such thing. I can't let you have our power regulator. But I happen to know of another one. And I happen to know exactly how you may retrieve it without frying yourself in the process.
Okay. I am all ears, and judging by your character, you want something from me.
There's a power regulator in the old botanical lab. It's mostly abandoned, so all that power is being squandered. Go down to the geothermal plant. Reroute power from the botanical district over to us. Once their power's shut down, you can have their regulator and be along on your way.
Sounds simple enough. I'm sure there's going to be no complications whatsoever, and you've told me the whole story, right?
I was not entirely sure how to tell you this. The botanical labs are not legally inhabited, but there are people who live there.
Oh, good. So we're draining power from people who use it to survive.
No, I do not imagine they will be pleased. But like a parent disciplining an unruly child, you will be doing them a kindness. The people living in the botanical labs, they're deserters, former workers. I need them back at their posts. I need them to come home.
I bet you do. Bet you're treating them like shit, and now you want them to come back after they ran away.
Edgewater is struggling. We haven't hit our production quota in years. If we don't meet our quotas this year, the company might shut us down for good. I need those workers back at their stations.
I guess I'm kind of struggling to see why this is my problem. I mean, place isn't exactly a thriving metropolis. Of course they left.
It's our problem, not yours, but I'm asking for your help. If those workers don't come back, Edgewater is going to collapse. My hope is that by cutting off their power, you will convince those deserters to come back to town. Before you go to the plant, I want you to stop by the botanical lab. Speak to their leader, Adelaide. Tell her the power's about to go, and that it's time her band of deserters came back to town.
That's almost reasonable. What?
Adelaide's older than the other deserters. She's dignified, kindly. From what I understand, her camp looks to her for leadership.
And if she doesn't want to come back, because I'm sure she's not going to.
That is not a hypothetical I enjoy entertaining. We need Adelaide back. Nonetheless, I will settle for the return of her followers. We belong to one community, the Spacer's Choice family. If we dissolve into factions, then we will all perish separately. Adelaide will understand that.
Right. I can see she's just going to be like all over that.
My dad told me all about the plant. Taught me all he knew. I could come in useful. I mean, if that's all right with you, Mr. Thompson. Sir.
I hesitate to part ways with Miss Holcomb, but I cannot deny that she is talented and may prove useful to you. You will need an administrative passcode in order to enter the plant. I am trusting you with mine, and trusting Miss Holcomb to guide you if you'd like.
Great! I got my wrenches and diagnosticators and hairpins and engine tape, so I'm all set.
Well, I am glad to hear that. Best of luck to you, and thank you again for your help. It is a lot to ask of a stranger, I know.
Okay, so I now have a new companion. And it just wouldn't be an Obsidian game without companions, of course. So, yeah, this will be nice. I actually like Pavarotti. She seems like a nice lady. And, I'm starting to get some serious Firefly vibes from this game. And does anybody else see, you know, Kaylee here? Slightly absent-minded, cute disposition, mechanic. Next thing you know, I'm gonna have Shepard book.
Hey, ma'am, can we talk?
Yeah, what am I gonna do about this power regulator
Can we talk?
issue? Oh, what do you want?
Sorry. You just want to get out of here. And you likely don't want to tag along like me. It's just, Mr. Thompson has his own view on matters, on account of it's his job and what all, but that's not the only side of the tale.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty aware of the fact that he was just blowing sunshine up my butt trying to get me to do his bidding for him. What the heck's actually going on here?
Oh, he ain't a liar. He believes every word he says. It's just, he doesn't always get where other folk are talking from. To Mr. Thompson, a person's a gear. It does its job quiet-like. If it squeaks or stutters, it gets replaced. The deserters are decent folk. I knew some of them before they left.
Yeah, but what about this Adelaide lady ringleader? Is she gunning for his job or something? Or what's going on?
Miss McDevitt? Oh, gosh, no. She was a real important person. A flavorist. Made all the food taste decent. She used to work up in the big office with Mr. Thompson. Alls I know is she left after her son died. It was a real big to-do. I could hear them both yelling clear from my own place.
Oh, well, she clearly has her own agenda then. Yeah, I don't think she's gonna come back, is she?
Can't say as I know. I wasn't there. The sound carried, but not the words. If Mr. Thompson ain't of a mind to tell you his own self, you'd best ask Miss McDevitt, if you can get out to her.
Suppose we'll have to do that.
I don't know anybody well. I mostly listened to them talk, kept my head down. There was a boy named Thomas who used to follow me around, asking questions about the stuff I fixed. He was real sweet to me. Not any sort of dissident.
This place sucks, though. I mean, of course they left.
Life's hard here. Especially for them that don't fit in so well. We're one big Spacer's Choice family, but every family's got the one the rest whisper about. Mr. Thompson's aiming to take away their power. They'll have no lights to see, nor heat to cook. They'll be at the mercy of marauders, or worse. I think you should talk to the town's vicar about it. Max, his name is.
A vicar, huh? A shepherd, maybe?
About if what Mr. Thompson proposes to do is upright. leaving Miss McDevitt's folk to their fate. They're neighbors. Kin. And maybe he can think of something else to try. Something we ain't. He used to go walking outside town. Maybe he found something that'll help. It's just an idea. That's all.
I suppose it can't hurt to talk to somebody.
The mission's on the east side of town. You can't miss it, on account of it being the only clean thing. Thanks, ma'am. I just think when you gotta make a decision that'll hurt somebody, it's best to think on the right and wrong of it. That's what my dad used to say anyways.
Well, as you can imagine, trying to decide if you're going to cut off the power to a town or cut off the power to a bunch of refugees is kind of a complex situation, and Pavardi here thinks that we should go talk to a vicar, and that he might be able to give us a little bit of advice.
Weird in here.
So here we are. Looks like some kind of church structure, and we're going to go find a vicar. We're going to talk to him. We're going to see what he thinks that we should do in this situation.
Yes, what is it? You're an outsider. Fantastic. Vicar Maximilian de Soto at your service. Or Vicar Max, if you're the sort who prefers... And Ms. Holcomb as well. How rare to see you out. And with a complete stranger. Curious.
Just tagging along, Vicar de Soto. Don't mind me.
I so rarely get new people to talk to. Name your poison, anything at all. Spiritual counseling? This season's tossball predictions? The quickest way out of town?
Yeah, so Pavardi said that you might be able to tell me a little bit about what we're going to do in this situation.
What? I thought you would talk to him.
You wanted to speak to me, Ms. Holcomb? Every time I've tried to engage you in conversation, you look at the floor. I can't imagine what would be so grave as to drive her to my mission.
Well, are we going to cut off the power or not?
Depriving them of safety from the marauders and wildlife. I can see why that troubles you. Miss Holcomb has a soft heart. Always has, if you believe the talk.
All right, well, what about this group out there? You know anything about them?
They rejected the order of society and live beyond the walls so thoughtfully provided by our Spacer's Choice patrons. Does that strike you as a responsible life choice?
I guess it kind of depends. They're going to do better out there or in here. I mean...
Astute. But I am here, not in the deserter camp. So that's not a variable I can account for.
Okay, so...
Assuming your goal is to save as many as possible, then you should bring everyone together. Send the power to Edgewater and convince the deserters to return to the fold.
I see. But I don't know if they're going to do that or not. I could try.
Not if things are left to stand as they are. If you don't mind a bit of unsolicited advice, be cautious on your way to the geothermal plant.
Not safe, huh?
One of the reasons I transferred here was to fulfill my duty in hunting down banned heretical texts. I happen to know such a book is, as we speak, tainting a collector's library in Emerald Vale. However, my retrieval efforts have been thwarted by marauders who have overrun the property.
So Vicar Max here, who is definitely not Shepherd Book, sent me and Pavrati, who is definitely not Kaylee from Firefly, off to go collect some things for him and help him run some errands. While I was exploring town, I picked up a few more quests for people who wanted other people dead, things found, you know, your normal RPG fare. And so I went out on a exploration tour, do a little bit of a thinning out of the local marauder population. And it gave me a chance to think about what I wanted to do in regards to this power regulator situation. Do I want to send the power to Edgewater and leave these deserters out in the cold in the hopes that they eventually come back to town? Or do I want to send the power to the deserters in the hope that Edgewater can pull its head out of its butt and realize that they're not really treating their workers very well? It's a little bit of a conundrum. I mean, on one hand, I can sympathize with the deserters. I mean, indentured servitude is not fun, and I can see why they would want to get away from Edgewater. And to be fair, I haven't had a chance to look into their side of the story yet because I haven't found Adelaide yet. But on the other hand, I can also see the side of Edgewater and the company, because these deserters are you know, they're freeloading off of the power supplied by the company, paid for by the company, living in structures built by the company. And the company and all the people who still live and work in Edgewater are reliant on the workers being here to get things done and to support the town and to survive. We're out in the middle of the, we're on the edge of space, out in the middle of nowhere. They're not just going to get new workers anytime soon. So I think the reality is that if I do cut power to Edgewater and support the deserters, that is going to cause a collapse of Edgewater and the jobs that are available there. And do the people who are just working their jobs, trying to, do their 9 to 5, do they deserve to have their civilization collapse? Is that the fault of the corporation? Is that the fault of the deserters? Is there anything we could do about it? I don't know. But to help myself overcome these questions and to rest more peacefully, I decided to explore the combat of this game a little bit more. And my decision... Run away! Run away! Run! Run! No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Gonna die. So my decision, as you can see, to go with a more communication, stealth, and thievery-based build as opposed to a combat-based build is starting to come back to bite me in the butt just a little bit. I'm gonna have to think about that as I level up in the future. I have been putting pretty much all of my stats into dialogue, stealth, lockpicking, engineering, science, that kind of thing. And I honestly haven't quite figured out how the stealth mechanics work yet, so most of the combat that I've done has been kind of full frontal assault mode. And yeah, it's a little bit difficult, but the game is kind of forgiving in the sense that Elder Scrolls was, where, there's this random person out here with an assault rifle who shoots your friend and kills them, but if you run far enough away, suddenly all the guards just ignore their dead companions laying on the ground and decide that it must have just been the wind, and they leave you alone. So if you just, snipe, run away, come back, snipe, run away, come back, you can pretty much get yourself through any situation. I'm not playing on the most difficult level either. I play these games to enjoy myself. I know that I'm crap at these games, and so I don't necessarily want to play at the hardest level until I've had a couple of playthroughs, maybe. But the companion system works out pretty well. Poverty's not bad. So I'm going to continue on exploring and looting and seeing what else I can come up with and getting some experience while I try to find this greenhouse and figure out where this Adelaide lady is. And we'll see if we can talk to her and figure out what we want to do. Much exploring and shooting later, I crested a ridge with the road here to see Botanical Lab. Hey, I think that's what we're trying to find. This is where those deserters are supposedly holed up, but
Move along, stranger.
important looting business to do here. And we've got somebody to talk to, so let's find out what's the news, lady.
I don't know you.
Well, I don't know you either. What's your problem?
Answers, huh? You must be one of...
Yeah, you're one of those loyal defensive types. Not big on brains, but good on loyalty.
Yeah, that's us. And you can tell if you're gonna start wandering around my camp.
Okay, your camp, yeah, I get it.
Over in the hothouse, tending crop. Enough with the questions. No offense, but I've got a lot on my mind.
Fair enough. I don't want to talk to you either. I'm assuming you're just going to give me a task to do, and I'm looking for Adelaide. See you later. So sure enough, she had a job she wanted me to do, and I went and did it. And then lo and behold, inside here, I found what I'm looking for. Apparently this area right here where the garden is where I can find this Adelaide lady. So let's see what she has to say for herself.
If you're hungry, there's meat turning on the spit outside. If you're bearing illness, find a place to lay your head down and I'll fetch you a poultice. Whatever your troubles with Edgewater, leave them at the gates and be welcomed here. Any questions, dear?
Yeah, a lot of questions.
I have been called that, among other things. Green Thumb, grandmother, the strange old lady who keeps flowers. But yes, Adelaide will do just fine.
Excuse me, Miss McDevitt? Sorry, it's just... You got such pretty trees in here.
Why, thank you. You're Robert's girl, aren't you? Are you staying long? You should try some of my tobaccorn tea. I brew it in an old spittoon, but it's been cleaned.
I'm gonna pass on the spittoon tea for now.
No, dear. The garden belongs to us all.
Oh, hippies.
Life is the gift of the universe, and the universe yields its bounty equally, absent of prejudice.
We found a plantation of dirty communists!
The soil around the Vale went sour years ago, but I found a way to sweeten it back up. The secret recipe is a little bit of elbow grease, a dash of love, and a heaping pile of special fertilizer.
You're absolutely nuts, aren't you?
A home for anyone who's ever turned their backs on Edgewater. So, like the spores of the puffball, cast on the wind and alighting on fresh soil, we put down new roots.
Soil owned by the company already.
It is an unpleasant story, dear. But the short of it is that sometimes one wakes up and realizes the place that was once her home for much of her life has changed. The home in which we spent our lives has left us behind, and so we must move on. And that is as much as I will say on the subject.
I doubt that's all you're gonna say, because you're an NPC and you like to talk.
You here on behalf of that cold-eyed reptile? Let's hear it. What's Reed's idea of peace, then?
I think you already know what I'm gonna say. He wants you guys to come back. And if you don't, I'm gonna turn the power off.
Make amends. Spare me. Only thing Reed knows how to make is a mess. Like everything else that comes out of Edgewater, that peace offering is canned. I and my own are living just fine out here by ourselves.
Are you really fine? I mean, you're using company power, and I'm looking to maybe turn it off, so...
He would do such a thing. The question is, why would you agree to his plans?
Because I don't care about any of the stuff going down here, I just want my ship to work.
Cannery's got a regulator. You want ship parts, you ought to rip them out of the cannery's guts and leave us be. If you're going down to the plant, you should divert power away from Edgewater and toward our end of the grid. Think about it. You'd be liberating an entire town from a lifetime of service to that odious cannery. Seems the sort of thing a hero would do.
Yeah, nope, not a hero. Never claimed to be, don't want to be. Just want to get my spaceship fixed. I mean, what do you got against them anyway?
You've seen that miserable excuse for a town with your own lamps. Hollowed out workers laboring their lives away at the cannery, living off whatever scraps Spacer's Choice throws them. You know that's true, don't you, Ms. Holcomb? Your father died of overwork. His heart gave out.
He was tired all the time, sure, but he was old, ma'am, and he raised me all by his lonesome.
Look what they did to this child. Lost her family to the company, and still she defends them.
I don't really like the attitude you're taking where you just assume that she's an idiot. You're full of yourself.
I'm all right. I ain't so fragile.
That was unkind of me. I'm sorry,
Oh
dear.
yeah, you're sorry now. You're kind of full of yourself, aren't you? Jeez.
It's not much of a living. Every single person in that town has sold themselves to Spacer's Choice. The company owns them. Body, blood, and bones. You've been there. You've seen it. All anyone ever does is toil over a cannery. They give their lives for some heartless corporation, and then they're tossed into a Spacer's Choice brand cemetery.
I mean, you don't seem to mind making use of their resources and everything they built here to keep your little camp alive. But what are you going to do without them?
Life in Edgewater grinds to a halt. The cannery shuts down, workers desert in droves, and our own little camp grows and thrives.
Grows and thrives without power? Like, the geothermal plant is run by the company, isn't it?
You bring power to Reed's town and you'll be killing us. Reed knows it. He's counting on it.
I ain't killing anybody. You guys are out here on your
Trust you will
own.
Listen to your
Alright, whatever.
conscience.
So, having talked to both Adelaide and Thompson about their perspectives on how things are going to go down, I went over to the geothermal plant to make my own decision. But I was asking myself the question, why doesn't anybody else just come over here and do this? Like, what is stopping them from coming down to the geothermal plant and just rerouting the power themselves? There's definitely something going on that they're not telling me about. And the more dead bodies I'm stumbling across here, the more I'm starting to realize that things are not as they appear. Now, Thompson, he's not a complete and total a-hole because he doesn't want anybody to die. He just wants people to come back to town so that he can run his cannery. Adelaide, I can see her perspective in that she didn't like it and left, but she didn't seem to have a whole lot of sympathy for the people in the town. She's kind of full of herself. I'm not sure what I want to do. So we headed into the geothermal plant, and sure enough, I found trouble. There were a bunch of automatons, these little mechanical sentries that were basically trying to kill everybody. I don't know if there was like a malfunction or what was going on, but every corner I turned around, I had something I had to shoot. And that would explain why they haven't come down here to reroute the power themselves, because always leave it up to the anonymous hero to do all the hard work. But fight my way through, I did, harvesting and looting like every good murder hobo does, and eventually I came to the power regulator.
Excuse me, ma'am. Look, I know you want your power regulator and all, but I just gotta ask you, do you understand what you're about to do?
Oh yeah, but what do you think?
I don't think you should cut off Edgewater's power. I think it would be cruel. I'm sorry. That just sort of came out all at once. Edgewater's hurting. We've been losing workers year after year, and corporate hardly ever sends replacements. There's barely enough Saltuna to fill our bellies anymore. But the town's got some good people in it. Decent, hard-working folk just living their lives the only way they know how. They don't deserve to be punished.
She's got a point. I mean, it's not their fault that the situation's the way it is. They're just trying to live.
Well, that sure sounds like Mr. Thompson. If he was standing here, I imagine he'd remind us of how we're all one big, happy Spacer's Choice family. In Mr. Thompson's eyes, those deserters are still part of the Spacer's Choice family. The family must work together in order to survive. I hate to say it, but I think Mr. Thompson's got a point. Unless those deserters come back, Edgewater's as good as dead. Cutting off their power might be the only way. Sorry, I didn't mean to babble on like that. I felt like I had to say something.
In my mind, I think Parvati here has a bit of a point. I mean, sure, life in Edgewater is not great, and there's a little bit of indentured servitude going on there. But the people who are working there, they're just trying to live their lives and do what they can to survive. Whereas the deserters, I don't think they quite get what's going to happen. If Edgewater collapses, that geothermal plant doesn't work anymore and they don't have any power. So as much as they're, you know, eco green hippie communist, let's share everything stuff sounds good, it's not going to work out. If the town collapses, it's bound to degenerate into civil war of some sort, because not everybody's going to want to join the hippie commune, and resources are going to become scarce. And I don't think that that's the solution to the problem they have. It sounds to me like the solution to the problem they have is at the top with this Thompson guy. He sounds like he must be a bad manager and he's not doing right by his town. So perhaps we cut off the power to the little greenhouse area where the deserters are. We talk them into going back into town because that's the only way they're going to survive. It's not going to work the other way around. And then we see what we can do to get rid of Thompson, to put somebody in charge who can actually negotiate with the corporation to get that place the stuff that they need. That could work. But I think I've made my decision.
Really? I mean, wow. Thanks. No one's ever told me those words in that order.
So it's decision time. What am I gonna do? Let's access the terminal and decide. Do we go Edgewater power? Or do we go greenhouse deserter power? Well, I think you've already figured out what my decision is. I am going to redirect the power to Edgewater. And unfortunately, that's going to leave the little hippies in the dark. But that's the best of a bad situation and the only one that leads towards any kind of solution in my mind. And so that is what we're going to do. All right, so buttons have been pushed, Power has been transferred to Edgewater, and the Hippies are now in the dark. But did I make the right decision? Is this going to work out the way I hope to? Will I be able to talk the people into going back into town? And will we be able to get rid of Thompson and replace him with somebody a little bit more caring and knowledgeable? Who knows? But we're out of time for today, so that is the end of this episode, and you're going to have to wait until next time to find out who I get yelled and screamed at by. And I just personally cannot wait. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. And until next time, I'll catch you later.